おいら I just finished catching up with Gachiakuta, I believe that's how you say it, and these are my initial first impressions on this season so far. We're halfway into the season, so let's just talk about it. Needless to say, I'm pretty intrigued so far with the premise of the whole story. I love the concept. I think it's pretty cool. I think the designs of the characters are some of the most unique I've actually ever seen. It's like really nice. So as far as the story of the series goes, it's essentially like there's two different types of people in this world. There's people who live above, called in the sphere. They're called the spherites, I believe that's how you say it. And there's people who live on the floor, which is essentially Earth. And I really like this concept because it shows pretty much like a class divide between like the rich, the poor, and then the ultra poor. And then you have these people who have superpowers who are called givers. And if you guys have ever like played Warhammer, or you guys know a little bit about Warhammer, you know how the orcs believe belief and like they can make anything essentially come to life. That's essentially how the givers have their abilities. So whatever they believe, whatever they treasure the most, comes to life, and they can use that as a weapon. I just wanted to make a Warhammer 40k reference, but that's essentially how the orcs work. Their power goes through belief. It's essentially more complicated than that, but that's the simplest way if you guys are not familiar with Warhammer or any lore of it. But that's kind of a similar comparison I thought of when seeing the abilities of how some of these givers have, like they can imbue their energy into like something they really adore, that they treasure, and turn it into a weapon. I think that's pretty cool. I think the power scaling system of this series is really interesting. And as far as our main character Rudo, he gives me like Bakugo vibes from My Hero Academia. At first I wanted to not like him, but he ended up growing on me slowly, like super slowly, to be honest. So essentially the story of Gachiakuta is we follow our main protagonist Rujo, and he's living in the sphere with his uncle until one day his uncle is murdered and he gets pinned for the blame of the death of his uncle. Everyone thinks he's a killer. Everyone thinks he's evil because, I ain't gonna lie, this dude looks kind of evil. So they hang him and they're like, we're gonna send you to the pit. Once we drop you, you're never gonna come back. The pit is basically like you're essentially falling from the sky. We have no idea like any of the lore behind the sphere. All we know is there's a class divide in this society between the ultra rich and the super poor. Even the poor live kind of decent. The one rule is do not kill, because if you get killed, because if you kill, you are going to be sent down to the pit, and no one knows what happens if you're dropped down in this pit. No one ever comes back alive and whatnot. So Rudo is sent down there, and everyone thinks he's dead. He's been betrayed by pretty much everyone that he knew. Everyone thinks he's a killer. They blame him just like how his father was a killer. And when he lands down below, he lands onto Earth, not like this sphere, but this polluted wasteland that used to be known as Earth. I assume it's Earth. We're gonna go with it's Earth. I don't know the lore behind the world of Gachiakuta yet. I haven't read the manga, anime only. But he comes across these giant trash monsters. That is until this mysterious stranger, Engine, comes to save him. He kind of reminds me of that dude from Bleach. I forgot his name. Kitsuke Urishiba, I don't remember, but he gives me the same vibes as him. He saves him, and that's when Rujo discovers he has abilities, and that's when he's pretty much known, oh yeah, you got superpowers, but his abilities are kind of different, because unlike Engine's ability is basically, he has a special umbrella which he can make it bigger. He can use it as a big weapon and whatnot. There's several other characters throughout the series that we meet. They have special weapons. There's like a flagpole. There's like giant scissors. But with Naruto, it's kind of interesting because he can pretty much turn anything into a weapon, because his main ability is using his gloves. Everything is imbued through his gloves, but he can turn pretty much anything into a weapon. And it's kind of unique because in his case, he's pretty overpowered, but he just doesn't really know how to use his abilities. That's pretty much the main premise of this story so far. He's been captured. As of the moment I'm recording this, he's been captured by a raider, which are other people with abilities as well. But I really like the concept of this, how there's a massive, and I mean a massive, class divide between the ultra rich, the ultra poor, and the pretty much scum of the earth, the quite literal scum, so much poor that there's beasts roaming around the planet. What's really intriguing about this series is the mystery behind when Rujo was falling down between earth and heaven, is what I like to call it, and there's this giant eyeball that stares at him, and everyone's trying to figure out, how is he alive? How did you survive this fall? So pretty much we're following his story as he explores the place, as he joins the Givers, as he joins his crew, as he follows Engine. I think it's pretty interesting. I really like the concept so far. I haven't really seen too many people talk about this series a lot, I'm gonna be honest. I've seen maybe a couple people talk about it, but it's not as popular as I thought it would be. Lately I've been watching My Dress Up Darling and Fragrant Flower, but Gachiakuta is one of those series that I think has potential so far to be really amazing. It's just not too many people have really talked about it. I don't think, me personally, it's lived up to my expectations. I was really expecting a lot more, but maybe because, like, since this series is like just barely getting along, it has to establish like a lot of things before the big battles. But I really like how the characters are designed. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I like how the characters look. It's pretty interesting. They have really nice, dope designs. And as far as the battles, I think it's pretty good so far. We haven't seen too many battles, but I think not too flashy, nothing too crazy. We've seen some crazy like animation, crazy scenes, but nothing too flashy, nothing like how Bones has done for My Hero or Bleach or even Black Clover, because this is animated by Bones, the same people that made My Hero Academia, so you would expect the series to have a little bit more like craziness. So far we haven't really experienced any of that. Like I said, I'm anime only, but I think it's a great series so far. I think more people should watch it. I think it's cool. So far it looks really good, but I've seen some of the manga panels where it looks absolutely insane. But I believe Bones is giving their priority for My Hero Academia over a series like this. But I'm not saying the series is bad. I'm just saying it's a little bit slow. It's progressing slowly. I like it. I gave it like a 7 out of 10. It's not bad, but it hasn't like, oh wow, it hasn't like, this is amazing, I'm gonna be a big fan of this series. It's keeping me intrigued, but it hasn't really hit it for me so far. That's just my initial thoughts on it. Also, I think the opening is really good. The heavy metal, I think, does it really justice. My brother doesn't really like the opening, don't know why. I like it, but yeah, that's just my perspective of this series as a beginner who hasn't really read the manga, who's only watching the anime. I like it. It's enjoyable. I'm really expecting for more, but we're 6 episodes in, so yeah. What are your guys' thoughts? You share the same thoughts as me, so yeah.